All right, first step of changing these tow arms out is just like the other parts, which is you go in the service and you engage jack mode. So your air suspension isn't fighting you the whole time. All right, be sure you have a jack with the jack stand, which is what this is. And if you want to see the other videos, I've got videos also on unboxing, and I've also got videos on the camber arms too. Link below. Next, get one of these. You need one of these to take these covers off, and just do every single one. Don't lose these. Once you got them off, get a 21-inch and loosen each nut. Just loosen it up. All right, once they're loosened, you can jack this thing up off the ground. Make sure this is correctly under the jacking point. There's only 4 of them inside each wheel. It's a rectangle. This thing locks into place. Spin all these off. Once you got them off, get the rim off. All right, here you can clearly see what we're working with. We are not doing the camber arm. That's another video linked below. We are doing the tow arm right here, which tends to, if it goes bad, it will make your vehicle unstable at higher speeds. It'll kind of make the wheel and tire move in and out when these bushings and things eventually wear out. During this change procedure, this, you can see how it's zip tied on right here. This cable is, just be careful. We're gonna cut that zip tie. There's a zip tie included. We're gonna re-zip tie it on before the installation is complete, but that's just something to keep in mind. Here are the new parts that are much cleaner and shinier. Plus they have a square washer to make things even tighter than before. You want that super tight fit because any play is going to create instability at higher speeds. And also included here is a new nut and a new bolt, because if it's a new installation, you're gonna have to cut the bolt or drop the battery. Cutting the bolt's easier. This is a replacement of older n2itive models, so my bolt's already in the right correct position. You see how when we look at this tow arm, you can see this is the bolt head and this is the nut. The nut faces the pack, which is front of the car. It didn't come that way from the factory. From the factory, it comes the other way around, where the nut faces the back of the car and the bolt is up against the front of the car, which is the pack side, and you can't get it out without cutting it. So again, if you're doing this original installation, you're gonna have to cut that bolt, and they give you a replacement, so no worries. But for me, I'm not gonna have to be concerned about that. If you're wondering how long these last, what I've got on here is 200,000 miles approximately of use, 325,000 miles total on the car, and that's the older design. This newer design over here has the square washers, has updated design, and also you can see here, top subframe, you're gonna have these down, have this adjuster, these adjusting things down, always have them down, and then the writing is up, so it tells you the right way to install. And since I've already had mine aligned, I'm just going to measure that and make sure that this new link matches the length of the one I'm taking out. Because of how and where these are located, you may need a breaker bar like this to get these things loose. They should be on tight, or you got other issues. And these are both 18s in the back, 18 millimeters. All right, this one's a little tight, so let me give you a trick. Get your ratchet on there with your 18-inch, and then get a long pipe to act as a breaker bar on this thing. You see, like this. Long pipe, lots of leverage, stick it over, and then break it. There, see all that leverage? Oh my gosh, I couldn't even move the thing, and so much leverage just by doing this cool trick. Also on this one, that's supposed to be an 18-inch nut, but for some reason, this 3/4 is what I'm needing. An 18-inch won't fit on it because of the way it is. It's recessed in there, but like we said, there's gonna be a new washer. It's gonna push everything out. It's gonna be a much tighter fit. It's gonna be a much longer, better quality product when we get it on there. Let's get the lower one. That's it, so easy. Nearly impossible without this kind of leverage, but so easy once you have the pipe. Again, these are both 18s. There's a nut you can't really see, well, you can barely see it back there. 18s on both sides, and I am using 18 on this one. Just push this aside and get the rest of these out. And like I said, we're going to measure this and then reinstall the same measurements. All right, so on this back side, there's no washer. There's just this 18-inch nut, so hold on to that. And on the front side, remember, this is going to be reused. Put it right back in where it came out. All right, so then back here, you've got the nut, bolt, and washer. And I think the washer, you'll see, it's not the same, you see, as what I'm going to have a square washer, so I'm not going to reuse these at all. And then I'm going to reuse the parts, or use the new parts that are with this kit. I'm just a shade tree mechanic here. I hope it's not going to rain on me. It comes out easy enough. And you can see after 200,000 miles, I'm sure these are worn. Actually, not so bad. Although that washer that came off here was a little beat up. The rest of this looks pretty good for 200,000 miles. But I'm going to measure this now and set the other one at the same distance, and then do the reverse and install. I can see by lining up these holes that this one, you can see, is not quite long enough. And also, you see it goes in reverse. The adjuster is actually on the inside instead of the outside on these new ones. If you're wondering what this is to loosen, you loosen this, which is a 5/16 Allen, okay? And then you also loosen this. I'm gonna show you what that is in a second. When you're ready to turn, this wrench actually comes with the camber arms. It'll work, or you can use another one. It's not gonna matter so much. I think eventually to come out with another design where you're gonna need to use this, because they're gonna use something that has markings so that you can adjust and change your alignment without having to get back on the rack. All right, T30 is it. That's what fits this one. So loosen up the T30, loosen up the 5/16 Allen, then you can adjust this and make them the same length. And then tighten these down. Don't forget to tighten these down after you make that adjustment. All right, so basically I didn't have to undo this 5/16 at all. I just did this T30, and then I can spin this on top of each other and spin it around until I get to the right length. I have to pull it out, and I can test it by putting these bolts in to make sure it's exactly the right size, and then just tighten down that T30, and then we're good to go, and we can reinstall from there, if that makes sense. Just make sure that when you tighten that T30 down, that this is all in alignment, if that makes sense, straight, instead of being off to the side or anything like that. All right, so once you get this measured, lined up, you make sure everything's exact with your measurements. Still may need to go to an alignment shop, but may not. Make sure you use a new bolt with the square washers that only fit in one way around this thing. And make sure, well, it only goes in one way too, with the nut on that side and the bolt head on that side. So you can see this washer is only going to fit in one way, snug against that, just like so. And then you want to get the washer on the other side with the nut over here. I made a little error, if you noticed. It's down here. I had this up on top of here. You can't do that. You got to install it so this is in the correct spot before you get the nut and bolt in on the top end. All right, make sure those washers, those square washers, are both seated properly before you tighten this down. And actually, don't tighten it down much here. Just make it snug, because you need to preload this to torque it, okay? Preload, I'll show you how to do once everything's connected. Then reuse the old nut and bolt down here. All right, what I found is it's easier to get on this one near the hub first, okay? Then connect the one up top after that. Actually, what I end up having to do here is loosen the camber so that I could slide that thing in and get both bolts to go at the same time. All right, this is definitely, see me fumbling with this, requiring some finesse, just so you know. The other camber was much easier than this, but just make sure, oh, by the way, this is an 18 and the new bolt is a 15 head, okay? So just know that, and you gotta finesse it. Make sure these washers are in here snug. It took me a while to get this one back in here. Make sure this one goes in all the way at the same time. You gotta move the hub a little bit. Tapping it down, and then you can start tightening the bolts at that point. Make sure everything's aligned, but just snug now, not super tight, because you got to preload the suspension. Remember, this new bolt is a 15 on this bolt head, but the nut head, the nut is still 18 inches, all right? Or not inches, millimeters. Then get this included zip tie, tie it around here, the cable's on here snug. All right, now we preload the suspension with a jack and a wood block underneath to lift the wheel up to operating height. And when we do that, then we can tighten the bolts, final tightening. All right, that's it. Torque them down. Make sure you reattach that, and we can lower